嚟同翻譯咯。
OK， 好，可以啊，係啊。
Good morning, everyone. So we're really excited to have this gathering today at our West Portal Senior Center. And I'm Amy Chung. I'm with Self-Help for the Elderly and also work with Beverly and Jenny on the Family Violence Council. So thank you, Mayor, for coming and making a very, very important announcement for all of us today. 咁我哋今日咧就係熱烈歡迎我哋啲嘉賓嚇。咁我哋安老自助處咧就首先歡迎市長布里德市長。So let's welcome also our supervisors, Supervisor Myrna Melga, District 7 Supervisor, our service in your district, thank you so much for all your support, Supervisor Melga, and Supervisor Hillary Ronan, 市參事係第9區嘅市參事嚇 Also Supervisor Catherine Stephanie, and also Supervisor Matt Dorsey, 城市參事。咁今日咧就我都介紹一位好特別嘅嘉賓，就係 Ivy Lee 係李康怡女士。I think that Mason and I planned this a few days ago, and we'd like the seniors to be part of this really joyous occasion. So a lot of the seniors want to come in, and then we welcome all of the guests from the consortium and from the Family Violence Council, people that have worked in this domestic violence, child abuse, elder abuse area for a long, long time. So we welcome all our friends from the community to come to our joy today. So now with no further delay, I'm sorry for all the guests that have to stand behind the room today. We are very crowded, and of course our seniors also will have their lunch program at 12 o'clock. So I'd like to now welcome Mayor Bree to come to the podium to make remarks. 咁我哋現在請我哋市長同我哋講幾句話。
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much, Annie, for all the extraordinary work that you do to support, uplift, and protect seniors all over San Francisco. I think I've said that because I can go to almost any neighborhood, and you are well represented in terms of the incredible work you do to support one of our most vulnerable communities. And it's so great to be here with our supervisors because this is a long time coming. I do want to take us back a tad bit because a lot of the reason why I got involved politically had everything to do, sadly, with the gun violence that was happening in my community. And it forced us to create new tools that never even existed in San Francisco. There was, of course, victim services in the district attorney's office, but there wasn't really the kind of support that people needed to be uplifted and to be helped through the crisis. It was more about prosecution, holding people accountable, but what happens to the wraparound support necessary to help victims that have experienced such tragedies? an organization called the Community Response Network was created. And from the Community Response Network, Street Violence Intervention Program, which we have a number of people joining us here today, as well as the extraordinary work of Lynn Restry in terms of being in the homes of those mothers, of those families who experience some extreme tragedies in our city. We continue to see changes in how the challenges persisted around violence in our community, not just with domestic violence, which we know there was a consortium of women and people in general who fought for additional resources and advocacy, and who has been able to generate generate more resources than that previously existed to provide housing, wraparound, and supportive services. After and during the pandemic, we experienced a height in anti-Asian hate. And it was clear that our seniors needed culturally competent services and people that they could trust to communicate with and work with. Comes in Sarah Wan and CYC working together with Street Violence Intervention Program. And we have so many of these different programs. We have so many, some in the women's Department of the Commission on the Status of Women, and some in the Department of Public Health, and just a little bit disorganized. And in steps Catherine Stefani with an idea to take this to the ballot so that these programs are not only assessed, but organized, and we're structuring them in a way that enshrines them into what we do in the city, and more importantly, how we make them more accountable and more coordinated to provide the services necessary to ensure that no matter who the supervisor is, no matter who the mayor is, that these services live on to protect victims and witnesses who go through challenges in San Francisco. So we are so excited to be here because the other thing is we are all working together. In comes Supervisor Hillary Ronen, who created an organization through the Human Resources Department, SHARP, that assists women who are abused. And that is another program that we are folding under to this umbrella. We are working together with Supervisor Hillary Ronen, Supervisor Myrna Melgar, Supervisor Catherine Stefani, and the guys, of course, want a piece of the action. So Supervisor Matt Dorsey jumps in and I want a piece of this too, because I believe in this work. And this is what happens when we work together. We make extraordinary things happen for this city. We want to get to a point where these services are no longer needed. But the fact is, San Francisco is a major city with some significant challenges. And when people are at their worst, we need to make sure that we are coordinated in our response, that we are working with advocacy organizations, including Asians Are Strong and other groups, to help protect and uplift all citizens of San Francisco. And now, here we are. After the assessment of these services, after a clear understanding of the dollars spent, the accountability tools, and how we can make them more coordinated and more strong, we now have a leader who is prepared to take on the helm and do this work. And I am so excited and honored that Ivy Lee has accepted the position. Ivy Lee is a true public servant through and through. Whenever given the opportunity, she answers the call. First, working as a legislative aide from the time that I met her. I know she's done other things because she is an attorney, by the way. But she worked as a legislative aide for Jane Kim when I first met her, and when I became mayor, I appointed her to the City College Board, where she continued to work and provide opportunities and support community. She worked for other supervisors, including Supervisor Norman Yee, and then came to my office about 4 years ago to work on her true passion, victim services, and provide the policy direction my office need, and then the support to organize these services and to ensure that we're making the right investments, we're holding organizations accountable, and we're working together to create a more structured system. The system that I'm talking about now has everything to do with the leadership of Ivy Lee. So I'm so grateful and excited that she has accepted this responsibility to lead this organization and to ensure that all victims, people who are struggling during their most vulnerable times, are supported. And to the service providers who are here, TRP, United Players, SVIP, CYC, I mean, you know who you are, the Domestic Violence Consortium. We have so many organizations and people who do this work every single day. And now you have a city department that is leading the effort and will make sure that we do the analysis necessary to provide you with the support and resources you need. This is extraordinary. And this is how government should work. So with that, I want to, again, take this opportunity to thank you all so much for being here. I know there's a lot of technicalities, but ultimately this means more support for those who are victims of any sort of crime in our city so that you are at the forefront of these services. And with that, I want to take this opportunity to introduce the author of Proposition D, passed by the voters in 2022, to help make sure that no one can mess with this office. I'm really excited about what that means long term, and someone who is an advocate against gun violence, someone who's fought for victims the entire time that she's been on the Board of Supervisors, but also as a former assistant district attorney, no other than Supervisor Catherine Stefani.
I'll just summarize really quick. 布里德市長我都好記得咧，尤其係咧，首先要感謝鍾月娟行政主任咧嚟到係為我哋全三藩市長職服務嘅。咁亦都咧尤其係咧當時咧加入政治嘅時候咧，亦都係咧係因為咧自己長大嘅時候咧，亦都係有好多槍支嘅暴力啦喺自己社區入邊。咁亦都深明咧，三藩市咧係需要有唔同嘅服務啦，例如咧我哋地檢官咧亦都係有受害人服務嘅。咁咧，但係我哋亦都知道咧，我哋係要更加多嘅唔同嘅服務咧嚟到去幫呢啲受害人嘅。咁三藩市入邊有唔同嘅機構啦，咁亦都係有啲機構係例如係街頭防止暴力嘅機構啦，咁亦都係同我哋嘅安老自助處啦，同埋咧社區青年中心合作嘅。咁咧，我哋三藩市都深明咧係我哋亦都係我哋嘅受害人咧，亦都係面對好多困難同埋種種嘅挑戰嘅。咁係尤其記得咧，就係我哋嘅疫情嘅時候咧，咁亦都我哋亞裔社區咧受到好多襲擊啦。咁當時市長咧亦都係咧係同安老自助處啦，同埋社區青年中心咧嚟合作咧，係推廣一啲唔同嘅服務嘅。咁亦都咧好感謝在座嘅施家儀市參事啦。咁佢2年前就係將呢一個今日嘅宣佈咧嚟到去加入去我哋嗰個選票上邊啦，嚟到去令到今日咧係我哋有呢個嘅呢個係今日嘅新嘅準備有一個新嘅機構嘅。咁佢亦都係啦，亦都感謝在座咁多位市參事啦，包括麥德成、盧海利同埋梅爾加市參事嘅。咁今日咧，在座市長教嚟啦，就係我哋今日嘅最新三藩市嗰個局，就係受害人同埋證人服務局，就係李康怡在座喺前邊嘅。咁亦都係啦，而家有請施家儀市參事致辭。
Thank you, Mayor Breed, for that introduction. I am just beyond overwhelmed to be here today and just so proud of these incredible women that I get to call my friends and colleagues, that we're doing this together, and all the community providers. It's just an absolute thrill, and I'm so grateful to be with you as we launch the Office of Victim and Witness Rights and celebrate Ivy Lee's appointment as its inaugural director. I put this measure on the ballot in June of 2022 because we knew not all victims of crime were being served by the city, and we knew they absolutely needed a place to go. From those suffering from hate crimes, domestic violence, vandalism in their shops, and other incidents, we weren't doing enough, and we weren't delivering the services we did have in a way that was streamlined or made sense to anyone who needed help. And for too long, crime victims were not being heard in San Francisco. We knew that almost 20,000 times per quarter, a person in San Francisco reported being a victim of crime, including domestic violence, assault, property crime, and more. We also knew that only about 3,000 of those incidents resulted in an arrest and charges were filed in less than 1,000 of those incidents. And until now, about 90% of those people, our neighbors, our colleagues, our friends, our constituents, couldn't get the help that they needed from the city, or at least they couldn't get help easily. And that meant that no critical services were there to help people rebuild their lives. It meant no restitution. It meant the city could offer nothing to some of these victims of crime. And worse still, even victims who qualified for services found layers of process, as the mayor was saying, red tape and bureaucracy that made their experiences even more difficult. Also, our services for victims were spread across many different agencies, as the mayor said, making it very difficult for people to navigate. And I knew somehow we need to streamline those services to make it easier for victims of crime. And it's why I put the San Francisco Victims' Rights Initiative, Proposition D, on the ballot, and it's why the voters overwhelmingly passed it. A key component of Prop D, the Office of Victim and Witness Rights, will be a one-stop resource for anyone who experiences a crime in San Francisco, regardless of whether they feel safe going to law enforcement. And one of the good things about this office, it is outside law enforcement. So those that are uncomfortable with law enforcement will have a safe place to go. And whether their case results in charges or whether anyone is ultimately convicted, they will get help at this office. The office will connect San Franciscans with the services that survivors have long cited as most critical. Services like housing, legal help, mental health support, emergency financial assistance, and more. I put Prop D on the ballot because I knew it was good policy. But it was also personal for me. For many years, my mother suffered through an abusive relationship. For 41 years, she was in a marriage where I saw abuse. And after 41 years, she finally left and got divorced at the age of 73. So you can rebuild a new life. She's 76 and single, and so there is a way out. But I saw the toll that relationship exacted on my mother and those around her, including her 4 children. And I committed myself to being a champion for all those who experienced that kind of trauma. When I introduced Prop D, calls to the domestic violence hotlines were up by 40%. Calls to the Cooperative Restraining Order Clinic were up by 166%. And the turnaway rate for victims seeking shelter for domestic violence was 79%. I knew we needed to do more. The other initial core responsibility of this office will be to manage a pilot program to provide victims of domestic violence with full scope legal counsel. While we work to reduce crime of all kinds, we must also remove obstacles to survivors getting the help they need. We must make it easier for San Franciscans to trust that the government will actually work for them. And that's exactly what the Office of Victim and Witness Rights will do. And Ivy Lee is the perfect woman for the job. I am so fortunate to have known Ivy for a long time. We met when we were legislative aides together, and she became my friend and someone that I confided in and believed in. And her decades of experience as a civil rights attorney and policy leader in public safety and victim rights will serve this office well. Her background makes me confident that she will lead the office with compassion, integrity, and resolve necessary to deliver results and break down barriers for survivors. Ivy, thank you so much. I cannot thank you enough for stepping up and agreeing to take on this responsibility. And Mayor Breed, I can't thank you enough. I remember sitting in your office when I brought this idea to you. You kind of looked at me like you do sometimes, and you said, that sounds like a good idea. And we talked about it. We talked about the services that lived in different departments, and you told me some that I didn't even know about. And you said, yeah, I'm going to get behind it. And you immediately endorsed Prop D. You saw this as something good to do from the beginning and the outset, and I can't thank you enough. And in your appointing Ivy Lee and recommending her, I can't thank you enough. I'd also like to thank Supervisors Hillary Ronan and Myrna Melgar for their unwavering support of this office. And to Hillary, we've been friends for a long time, legislative aides again together. We all work together, and we have been working on women's issues and victims' issues, immigrants' issues for so long. We bonded over that, and to see you here today, knowing that you're going to fold in the issues that you care about, that we all care about, I can't tell you how much it means to me. And to Myrna Melgar, who was one of the signatories on this initiative, believing it from the start. I can't thank you enough again for your friendship and all the things that we care about and work on together. You are just two women in my life, my colleagues and friends that I look up to, and I'm so happy to have you here today. Also, I want to thank my staffers, Dominica Donovan and former staffer Andy Mullen, for their hard work on this measure. We have put a lot of time and effort into it. And all those who helped get Prop D over the finish line, and especially to the service providers. The work you do, and I'm looking at you, Lynn, and Sarah, and Bev, and so many people in this room, Hudson and Mark, and everything you bring to the table. Janice, Lee, I saw you earlier, United Players. There are so many people, too, that I just want to mention that when we were doing this, when we were talking about the services that we really wanted to bring together, I consulted with many, and I'm going to name them because they deserve it. The Open Door Legal, Bay Area Legal Aid, the Justice and Diversity Center of the San Francisco Bar Association, Jewish Family and Children's Services, the Cooperative Restraining Order Clinic, API Legal Outreach, the Brady Campaign, Moms Demand Action, United Players, San Francisco Coalition Against Human Trafficking, the American Indian Cultural District, the Red Woman Rising Project, the Bigglesworth Foundation, the National Coalition for a Right to Civil Counsel, the Domestic Violence Consortium, Self-Help for the Elderly, and so many more. Without your work and your tireless advocacy and your dedication to serving victims and survivors, none of this would have been possible. Today marks a significant milestone in our collective efforts to support and protect victims, witnesses, and survivors of crime in San Francisco. And I am so grateful that we'll have this key resource as we continue that fight. And again, congratulations to Ivy Lee on her appointment. Thank you.
咁我哋好快咧就重複一次啦。咁頭先施家儀士3次提到咧，咁2022年推出呢個提案嘅時候咧，咁當時亦都見到仇視亞裔嘅罪行啦，同埋好多暴力嘅罪行嘅。咁有見及此咧，亦都係當年咧就推出咗呢個提案嘅。咁呢個新嘅部門咧，將會咧係令到咧受害人咧係接受服務時候更加容易嘅。咁尤其是咧，如果有啲受害人係怕同警察部門啦或者公共安全部門合作嘅話咧，咁咧呢一個部門亦都係唔係屬於呢個公共安全嘅部門咧，咁變咗咧大家係令到係更加係可以放心去同佢哋咧去聯絡嘅。咁亦都係有一個一站式嘅服務啦。咁亦都感謝李康儀接受今日嘅委任啦，同埋在座咁多位士參事嘅。
Thank you so much, Supervisor Catherine Stephanie, for summarizing this and also for working with my office as well as your colleagues on helping to consolidate these services as well as with these various nonprofit organizations. Supervisor Hillary Ronen created an office to help victims of sexual harassment and assault, an office that has work to not only implement policies and investments, but more importantly, to ensure that those victims specifically were supported and uplifted, similar to so many of the other programs that we talked about earlier here today. And she and Supervisor Catherine Stephanie are working together to ensure that, again, those offices are consolidated, that we are working together so that we have a holistic approach to addressing the needs and the desires of victims. I cannot thank Supervisor Hillary Ronen enough for her work and her advocacy. This makes sense, and this is how it should be done. It's not only going to save us a lot of money, it's just going to make the services better for the people that we're trying to serve. So please welcome Supervisor Hillary Ronen.
Thank you so much, Mayor Breed, Supervisor Stephanie, Director Lee. Ooh, yay! I am going to be really short. I created SHARP about, 5-6 years ago after holding a hearing where about 7 women who had been victims of rape and who had a horrible time going through our legal system, trying to get justice against their accusers. And I decided that we needed a department that looked inward into the city and figured out how to make our police department, our district attorney's department, our health department more friendly towards survivors of these horrible, horrible crimes. And Sharp has been in the Human Rights Commission for all this time and has done some extraordinary work. But it didn't look inward to the city and give us the type of policy changes that we were looking for. It looked outward and did amazing work with survivors outside the city, but we wanted to look inward because we want to improve. And so during the budget process, when I was budget chair a few years ago, or no, that was last year. Sorry, I wasn't budget chair anymore. It was under Supervisor Chan. I don't know if it was Supervisor Stephanie, but someone had this brilliant idea of putting Sharp under the new Office of Victim and Witness Services. And it just clicked for me, and I said, that's what we needed to do. And then when Mayor Lee kind of told us that she was leaning towards appointing Ivy Lee as the director of this office, I said, this is going to thrive like never before, because I know Ivy well. And I know that it takes someone extremely special that people have a lot of faith in and a lot of respect for internally, and that understands how the city functions, to look at other departments inside the city and criticize them, quite frankly, right? That's not an easy job to do. Setting up Sharp was never easy. Ivy is that person. She has the diplomacy, she has the credibility, she has the relationships that she is able to give constructive criticism in a way that our departments will take it. And that's why I know Sharp is going to succeed like it never has before. I know that's the reason why women and men and non-binary people who are victims of horrible crimes are going to feel much more comfortable coming forward and seeking help. And I know that it's going to make our city better, Mayor Breed, and it's because we're all working together. I just want to end by thanking Supervisor Stephanie so much for creating this office, for having the vision, and for welcoming Sharp into the fold, because I know this collaboration or this combination is going to create magic. So thank you so much, everyone.
咁盧海利士參自提到咧，咁尤記喺5、6年前咧，咁當時咧有一個公聽會啦，咁亦都係咧關乎到7名性侵犯嘅人士啦，咁佢哋經過困難嚟到指證呢啲嚟做證人嘅，咁亦都有見及此咧，咁當時成立咗性騷擾及暴力辦公室啦，咁今日咧得到李康怡嘅新嘅呢個部門咧，咁咧呢個。咁佢當時成立呢個辦公室咧，亦都係咧會係加盟佢辦公室嚟令到咧係我哋嘅服務係更加完善嘅。咁亦都係再次多謝在座咁多位士參事啦。咁亦都提到李康怡啦，咁亦都係一個民權律師啦，亦都咧得到好多人嘅信任啦。咁同埋社區入邊咧有好多關係嘅。咁再次多謝各位。
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as was mentioned, we are in West Portal and Supervisor Myrna Melgar's district, and Supervisor Melgar is a bridge builder. She's worked together with her colleagues to ensure the success of this program, and we wanted to invite you, Supervisor Melgar, up to say a few words, please.
Thank you so much, Mayor, and welcome to West Portal, to District 7. Ivy, I have known for a long, long time, and I cannot say enough about how much I respect you. Your brains, your brilliance, but your heart. You are this just unique combination of things that the community needs to make sure we are safe and we are whole. I am so grateful, Mayor, that you had the foresight and the brilliance to put this woman in charge of something that my colleagues have been working on for so long. We have been talking for a couple years now about sexual assault in schools. It is something that I have been very active in after I was approached by a bunch of kids from Lowell High School who had been experiencing, after the pandemic, a vast increase in harassment and assault and things that kids now just kind of missed during the developmental stage when they were on Zoom. How to learn how to do consent, how to, resolve conflicts in a way that would keep them safe. So it makes sense that victim services encompasses all of the things that we know people need in our community, our elders need, our kids need, women need, people who are experiencing violence, they're experiencing crime, they're experiencing trauma, and we need somebody who understands the law, who understands the system, but also is deeply rooted in the values of community. And that is you, Ivy. I am so just thrilled and beyond excited that you are stepping in just at the right moment to bring all of these different efforts that Mayor Breed has been working on, my colleague, Catherine Stephanie, my colleague, Hillary Ronan, and Matt Dorsey. Everybody has been working on different pieces of it and bringing it all together with this deeply rooted community heart is what I know you are going to do. Thank you so much for stepping up. I'm so glad everybody's here to support Ivy, to support the mayor, support this effort of my colleagues. And I think that we are going to do great things in the city because of you. Thank you so much.
每家市三四都咧係提到咧，咁佢哋可能李康怡咧已經認識已久啦。咁佢無論喺法律上邊啦，咁亦都好認識法律啦，同埋咧係市府入邊嘅程序嘅。咁都感謝布里德市長今日咧嚟到係委任李康怡嚟到去出任呢個咁重要嘅服務呢個職位嘅。咁亦都提到喺學校，佢自己亦都喺學校唔同學校入邊咧係推廣一啲希望咧大家同學咧亦都係一啲學生，亦都係對呢啲性侵犯啦同埋性騷擾啦嚟到提出呢啲舉報同埋一啲教育嘅服務嘅。咁亦都係再次恭喜李康怡。
And finally, it's so interesting. I'm really glad Supervisor Melgar mentioned that Ivy Lee has the heart to do this work, because we can talk about all of her accolades, all of the work that she's done. She is extremely accomplished, clearly. And in every job that she has chosen to do throughout her career, it has had everything to do with having the heart to want to help people. And I think that says a lot about her character and why everyone here agrees that she's the perfect person to take on this responsibility. Because at the end of the day, she will always look out for the people who needs the kind of support and services that so many of the people here, the service providers, are providing to the public. We know that there's the little things that matter, showing up to the hospital, being there, being in the living room of a victim and not, like taking their tragedy and using it in an irresponsible way because it's their tragedy and their challenge and their issue. She will understand that. And she will understand how we work together to ensure that this city is being held accountable to make those investments and to be there. And I see, it's so great to be in this room because I see so many people that represent the world of nonprofit and city workers who have been in this fight for victims in various capacities for decades. And we appreciate the work that you all continue to do. And now, under this office, under the leadership of Ivy Lee, we are taking this work to the next level. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the new director of the Office of Victim and Witness Protection, Ivy Lee. All right.
大家好. I want to thank you, Mayor, for trusting me with this responsibility. And supervisors, I really want to thank you for putting your faith in me that I can do justice and do right by this office. I wanted to welcome my good friend, Michael Wong. He's going to be helping me today to make sure that what I say can be properly communicated. But he is one of the many people in this office that do the hard work every single day. So it is really humbling to be here because I feel like I am here with the real people that deserve acknowledgement and support. So Mayor, one of the first things that I do want to say is they need the city's support. There are federal cuts to victims of crime, dollars, that is happening this year. It happens every year. On a state level, there are resources that are cut from this community of providers, of service providers and advocates every year. They are the first on the chopping block, and they are the ones that are first at the table, first in the room, first on the phone, standing shoulder to shoulder with people that are going through some of the worst experiences of their lives. So they absorb all of that pain, and then they stand up and they turn it into really a way to help people start to stand up and heal. So we need the city, every single department of this city, to stand up and put their money and make their words into actual action. They need to support the people in this room and beyond who are doing the work.
首先咧就多謝市長任命Ivy 咧成為呢一個受害人同埋證人權益局嘅局長啦。咁咧就呢個係好光榮嘅任命，就主要咧就係受害人咧就所嘅經歷咧係非常之痛苦嘅。咁咧就佢都好，我哋好榮幸 CYC 咧每日咧都係為受害人咧係日日夜夜受害人有事打電話俾我哋咧，我哋都會出動去接觸佢哋，提供服務嘅。咁啊，好不幸咧，而家州政府嗰度咧嘅預算咧就大幅度嘅削減經費，令到好多嘅非牟利機構咧嘅經費咧係得到削減。咁咧就雖然佢哋好捱苦。每日咧都係繼續咁，但係都會繼續咁樣做嘢，所以喺市政府呢一方面咧，一定要咧揾到一啲經費嚟到支援呢啲機構繼續受害人嘅服務嘅。
This job, doing this job actually feels very full circle. And that is because this work is why I wanted to become a lawyer in the first place. A lot of the clients that I've served in the past have actually been coming to me over the past couple weeks. It's because of them that like you, Supervisor, I think their courage, their resilience, the families of the survivors, they are the ones that I think compel us to do this work and to do it better. So I don't want to keep the seniors from their meal, but I want to say thank you for coming, and I want to thank you for all of you for doing the work that you do. It's an honor for me to support you because that is what this office should do. This office will have one purpose, which is to try to make government work better for survivors and the people who serve them.
咁樣接受呢個任命，呢個局長嘅任命咧，亦都咧係冇忘記佢自己做律師嘅初心。佢初心咧就係要幫助別人。佢都諗起當初做律師嗰陣時，幫助好多不幸嘅幸存者或者受害人。呢個經歷咧係好痛苦嘅。咁咧佢哋咧係受到好多嘅創傷，好多嘅折磨，但係咧都係受到呢啲服務之外咧，由於佢哋嘅勇氣同埋佢哋嘅韌力咧，所以咧就推動 李律師當時嘅動力去為佢哋嘅服務，為佢哋做得更好。咁咧亦都係啦，呢個局嘅主要目的就係啦，為所有嘅幸存者得到最好嘅服務，能夠盡快復原，都係所以咧係我哋嘅呢個局嘅唯一嘅目標。
Last but not least, I want to thank Michael because I went completely off script. I sent him like remarks in advance to hopefully make it easier for him to interpret for me, and I didn't stick to it.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. I spent 4 hours translating it. No, just kidding.
Thank you.
It's good. Yeah, very good.
Thank you. But Annie, thank you for letting us take up space so much. Appreciate you and all the work that you do and that you've done. You are a role model, an inspiration to me. So thank you.
亦都多謝安老自在處鍾義娟行政主任啦，係咪安排呢個地方同埋你所做出嘅工作。
Yeah. And very last, but definitely not least, I want to thank my husband, and who's here, one of the only judges in San Francisco Superior Court who every day talks about Marcy's Law and the rights of victims as he is doing his job at court. And I want to thank my son for being here, who's hiding in the back.
咁啊，家人屋企人嘅支持好緊要㗎。咁啊，李律師嘅最大嘅動力咧，背後動力咧，當然大家都好認識嘅，就係我哋嘅大法官黃法官，佢今日都抽空出嚟支持呢個任命。咁咧，佢咧就係佢嘅法庭上邊咧都係好大力保護呢一個證受害人嘅權益嘅。咁啊，佢個仔阿 Ronnie， 我認得佢啦，啱啱翻嚟都喺度支持你。
Yeah. My grandmother raised me like your grandmother raised you, Mayor. And one thing she always told me was, don't take more than you give. Always give back more. And so I hope that that's what I'm able to do in partnership with all of you. Thank you.
咁咧，亦都係祖母同阿 May 嘅祖母嘅教訓一樣做得幾多，但係盡量要付出多啲就係最好㗎啦。多謝大家。
Well, thank you again, Ivy, for that heartwarming, those heartwarming comments. And again, when it comes from the heart, it makes all the difference. And to so many of the service providers here today, when you take on the responsibility of the people you serve, sometimes it can be taxing on your mental health. And it is so important, and I'm looking at Lynn, because Lynn, when there is gun violence, she is in those living rooms, she is at San Francisco General, and so many of the folks here today. It is always important that in the work that you do, that you take a moment to take care of yourself too. Because as much as I know you want to go 24/7 and be there for the people that we need to be there for, we need to make sure that you are strong. Put on your oxygen mask before assisting others. We have to do that because we need you all for the long term. This is a long-term challenge that we are up for, and we are up for because all of you have the heart for this work. So it is so great to be here. This office, Supervisor Stephanie, is finally headed in the direction we know you envision. The work and the collaborative spirit of what we here to do is there, and the leadership of heart and integrity is at the helm. So I know this signals a new day for victim services and rights in the city and county of San Francisco, and I am extraordinarily grateful for the work that we have done and will continue to do to support, uplift, and be a blessing to the people who deserve the kind of support that this office will deliver under your extraordinary leadership, Ivy Lee. Thank you. 祝大家身體健康，平安大吉，龍馬精神。